The DMK ultimatum to the government is going to be top focus here. The implications on the international stage also as far as our neighbor, the island nation, is concerned. The DMK has served a one-week ultimatum for the centre to act against Sri Lanka or face the threat of pull out 18 MPs from the UPA. So Karunanidhi's party has raised the stakes for the government over Sri Lanka. The DMK Supremo threatening to pull out from the government if India doesn't move amendments, making the UNHRC resolution against Sri Lanka even more damning. Sources telling headlines today that Karunanidhi has set a one-week deadline for the centre. But the centre is speaking in two voices. On the one hand, you have Finance Minister P. Chidambaram saying that he is confident the government will vote against Sri Lanka. On the other hand, the Indian government has also issued a statement of a human rights review of Sri Lanka, appreciating the Lankan government's efforts so far.
அதுபோன்ற ஒரு வாசகம் அந்த தீர்மானத்தில் இருந்தால் அந்த தீர்மானத்துக்கு ஆதரவாக இந்தியா குரல் கொடுக்க வேண்டும். இந்தியா அந்த தீர்மானத்தை ஆதரிக்க வேண்டும். இந்தியா அந்த தீர்மானத்தை வலியுறுத்த வேண்டும். இந்தியா அந்த தீர்மானத்துக்கு ஆதரவாக வாக்களிக்க வேண்டும் என்பது நம்முடைய குரல், நம்முடைய வேண்டுகோள். 22ஆம் தேதி வரை நீங்கள் பொறுமை காக்க வேண்டும். 22ஆம் தேதி நல்ல செய்தி வரும் என்ற நம்பிக்கை எனக்கு இருக்கிறது.
So to make better sense of what this ultimatum from the DMK to the centre really means, its implications on the international stage, also not to forget the government's own indecision as it is being made quite evident at this stage means, let's get some better perspective from Major General Ashok Mehta, defence analyst, also someone who has an acute sense of goings on and the current situation in the island nation as well. Rajiv Dogra, former diplomat, also joining us in the Noida studio. We're also hoping to get a voice from the DMK a little later in the show. General Mehta, first up, you at this stage, you know, when you look at this comment, this political pressure tactic coming forth from the DMK, not the first time that it has happened, but voices in the state really feel that this time it is serious and that the DMK chief is hoping that it comes through the way he wants it.
Yeah, you know, as you said, we've seen this kind of thing happen before, these threats before the vote against Sri Lanka at the United Nations Human Rights Council. I think there are two things that we have to look at. Firstly, what the DMK is demanding specifically now is on the business of alleged war crimes. And they are specifically demanding an independent inquiry into the alleged human rights violations. So that's one part of it. And the second part, which is less articulated, is contained in the Lessons Learned Reconciliation Commission, which talks about the recommendations made by Sri Lanka's own LLRC.
Yes.
In the report, which has many recommendations. One of the key recommendations is on political devolution that must take place. Now, on neither of these, the report, during this 1 year, the Sri Lankan government has a positive record. For example, on the alleged war crimes,
yes,
the Sri Lankan army carried out what they call a board of inquiry. And that board of inquiry, which is like our court of inquiry, submitted a report on 15th of February this year, absolving the Sri Lankan military
yes,
of any war crimes, and instead they blamed the LTTE for it. So, as far as the Sri Lankan army is concerned, the 40,000 civilians killed during the last stages of war,
okay,
they have nothing. So, right now, I think what you see is these two voices, white smoke and black smoke coming out of the Vatican
yes,
chimney. The genius will lie in the actual resolution, drafting of the resolution. Because right now, India is praising Sri Lanka,
yes,
it's lauding its efforts. And I believe not correctly, because there is nothing that Sri Lanka has done which actually requires this appreciation. On the other hand, the Americans and the Brits are saying, you have your own LLRC, make these recommendations. Your national action plan does not conform to implementing. In other words, non-implementation.
Also, given the geopolitical significance, should India be following the US lead? Is it well caught in no man's land, trying to walk a fine diplomatic line by issuing statements, as you heard from Chidambaram as well, backing that resolution, the US mooted resolution, and then on the other hand issuing, a certificate, if you will, of progress to the Lankan government as well. I want to put those questions to Mr. Dogra, but first up, let's also welcome Mr. Radhakrishnan, DMK leader, on the show at this stage, joining us from Chennai. Mr. Radhakrishnan, first up, when you hear these voices from Mr. Chidambaram saying that,
yes sir,
that India hopes that any kind of resolution will be backed from, of course, that if it is, when you talk about investigations, if there are amendments to be moved, India will back that move. That is what Mr. Chidambaram has said. But when you look at, the human rights certificate being issued, saying that there's progress being made by the Sri Lankan government as far as human rights are concerned, how do you see this situation? How does your party plan to proceed?
Sir, DMK concerned, our leader, Kalanjar concerned, we are only for the investigation, that is international independent inquiry, that is must. Genocide must be quoted in the resolution. Third point, this recommendation, this independent inquiry commission's recommendation should be implemented in the stipulated time. This 3 points is important for us.
No, but how real, sir, how serious is the DMK about this threat, this ultimatum to the center? In the past as well, on numerous occasions, your party chief has issued ultimatums.
Very much serious. We are very much serious. We are very much serious. That's why our leader returned a letter to Prime Minister yesterday night.
So, but letters have been sent across in the past as well. I mean, the fact of the matter is they haven't been forwarded to the speaker.
We are for international independent inquiry. That is must. Okay. Second thing, genocide must be indicated that resolution. Third point, that recommendation should be implemented in a stipulated time. Not like LLRC recommendation. And last session, they given a time for this Rajabakse.
Okay.
Just they ignored the LLRC recommendations. Just they throw it in the dustbin.
Mr. Dogra, when you see these developments, the DMK leader, they're quite strongly and vehemently saying that this is very serious. We need these assertions to be made forward, these amendments to be introduced, in that resolution. India, though, is caught in a tricky situation. There are protests being held, in Bangalore as well, in Karnataka, of course, in Tamil Nadu, for the rights of the Tamil people. But the fact of the matter is there the real concern? That's the other question. What is the political motivation behind these issues, which has always been the evident case too?
Well, I can't second guess what DMK is doing or would wish to do, but I want to state certain facts. Number one, if there was no concern about human rights violations in Sri Lanka, then there would not be any resolution at UNHCR. It's as simple as that. Obviously, there is concern, and there's massive concern. That is why the resolution. The second thing is, as far as India's stand is concerned, it seems to the common man that there is some vacillation and confusion. And this from a country which was a champion in the world for a long time for issues like colonialism, issues like racism and so on. And now we are sitting on the sidelines not knowing where to go. The third thing is that we are a party to the RTP, Right to Protect Resolution of UN, under which UN authorized intervention in Libya and now in Syria. Now here massive human rights violations are taking place in your backyard. They are not only taking place in your backyard, but this must be the only example in the world when people of your own region are being massacred or were massacred and you did nothing about it.
There is, of course, another view that, war crimes perhaps committed by the LTT, most certainly you talk about the government as well, but is it now time to move on and talk about the welfare of the Tamil people more specifically? Is there a softening, if you will, as far as their rights are concerned from the Lankan government as well? Mr. Radhakrishnan, are you then willing to, to take on some kind of compromise? The finance minister has come out and said...
Compromise, sir. what happened? So many times we intervene in India and so many issues, international issues. What happened in Bangladesh? What happened in Palestine? What happened in Suez Canal issue? Period to independent Portugal issue. East time, so many issues you intervened. This Sri Lankan Tamil issues, not only Sri Lankan Tamil issues, Indian security point of view, you should know. It's a very dangerous thing. The friendship of China, Pakistan with Sri Lanka is a dangerous zone in Indian Ocean.
So there is no space for any compromise. There is no space for any dialogue. The government must concede.
The
government has to
this happened 1983, sir. Sir, this happened 1983. 30 years over.
The government must move these amendments, is what a DMK leader says as well. At this stage, also disregarding any solution if it were to be found through General Mehta, also Mr. Rajiv Dokra, and also Mr. Radhakrishnan. Thanks very much for joining us on the special broadcast. Certainly an issue which needs to be dwelled on further as far as the government is concerned as well. There are political considerations too.